ESPN's Brian Windhorst with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports, ESPN Radio. Brian, who is this LeBron James that we're seeing this year? A lot of the post-game talk has been about him and the decisions that he's making. He's really pumping himself up. What do you see in LeBron this offseason?
Well, he's not having the greatest statistical year of his career. If you're going to compare his stats to other years, you're going to think that he's not having a good year. But when you consider the lack of experience on this team, and I know that there's people on this team that have won titles and made it to the finals, but the players who are actually playing, there's not that much experience. And considering that it sometimes has been an inexperience on the bench, he's taken a very all-encompassing role. And then when you look at the fact that their third-best player, Kevin Love, has been gone for the last two series, and their second-best player, Kyrie Irving's limped through the last two series, and he's had to basically make up for that by just doing more. It's probably the best postseason individual leadership run he's had probably since like 2008 or 9, before he was with the Heat and he had more help.
So that being said, with this being his best run, who possibly guards him in this series?
Well, Draymond Green will guard him, and Draymond Green will do a good job, but whenever you're breaking down, whether it's a football game or it's a basketball game, there's this concept that one guy is guarding the other guy. But that's just really not the case anymore with the way defenses and the NBA work. So Draymond Green is going to be the first guy standing in front of LeBron for most of the time. And he's not going to shut him down. He's not going to hold LeBron to 6 points on 2 of 13 shooting. LeBron is going to get his points. LeBron is going to create opportunities for his teammates. The issue is that how many possessions in the game, out of the 100 possessions or so that the Cavs have, how many of those possessions are going to end up resulting in good shots? How many of those possessions is LeBron going to be able to get fouled or get a dunk or get a layup? Or how many of those is he going to be taking a jumper with Draymond Green draped over him with 2 seconds on the shot clock? And the higher percentage that one team gets to the other normally plays out over the course of a game or the course of a series. So the Warriors have been a great defensive team all year long. This will be a strong test because there really isn't anybody in the game who the Warriors would play that is like LeBron they could prepare for.
ESPN's Brian Windhorst with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, at Windhorst ESPN on Twitter. Is that the biggest storyline, how they defend LeBron, and what is the side matchup that you'll be looking at, the second biggest matchup in this series?
Well, I think it's really going to come down to whether the Cavs can score more. Look, the Eastern Conference this year was pretty bland, and then the Hawks, they had some injuries. The two teams that the Cavs just beat to get there, offensively, even if you took the 5 best players from both teams, probably wouldn't be as good as the Warriors. So the Cavs were able to get away in the last couple of series with winning games where they only scored 86 or 91 or 93 points. That's not going to be the case most likely against the Warriors. The Warriors are going to be able to get up over 100. And with every basket that is scored in the game, even if the Cavs are ahead, with every basket that gets scored, it benefits the Warriors because as the game gets higher scoring, they just have more weapons. So the Warriors, if you would put it in a gambling reference, the Warriors are always going to bet on the over. They want more scoring. They want more possessions. They want faster tempo. And the Cavs want all the opposite of that. And that's pretty much a classic East-West case. This is the way the East and West have played generally for the last 15 or 20 years. The West plays faster and higher scoring. The East plays slower with better defense. And ultimately, a lot of the time, these final series come down to that battle of will.
Brian, Kyrie Irving, how much can we expect from him in this finals?
Nobody knows, really. I mean, he's saying all the good things like, oh, yeah, my knee feels better, I'm getting treatment, I'm feeling more explosive and all this stuff. But he said the same things going into the last series, and then he wasn't even able to finish Game 1, and he didn't play in Games 2 or 3. So this is an injury that ideally you would say take a month off, and you'll feel better, and then you'll be over it. But he doesn't have a month. So the key for Kyrie is, can he be a double threat? Really, Kyrie isn't as dynamic a player as Steph Curry, who can absolutely get a shot against anybody. Kyrie has to have the ability to both drive and shoot. He's got to be the double threat. You have to be able to guard both of them. And recently, teams have only had to be able to guard the shot, and he hasn't been as effective.
Brian Windhorst with Armen and Levack. Brian, how effective does Kyrie need to be in order for LeBron and the Cavs to make a run at the Warriors?
They just got to score. They got to get points. They've got to be at the point where, LeBron's averaging around 30 and Kyrie's averaging around 23, 24. They've just got to be able to put up points. They have to consistently be able to match the Warriors, because you just know that the Warriors are going to have moments where they just go off, and they're going to score 15 points in 3 minutes. And Steph Curry's going to hit 4 straight threes. And you can weather the storm as long as you can continue to score with pace. But that's the challenge, and that's what they need LeBron and Kyrie to be at a high level, because you have to assume that the Warriors, maybe they'll have one game or a game and a half where they're off, but their history this year says they don't lose 4 and 7 ever. So it's going to take something special from the Cavs to start that.
Wow.
Brian, we're your home for New York sports, so it's kind of driving us nuts to see how well Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith are playing and how big of a factor they are in this Cavs team.
Well, the Knicks don't have LeBron. So,
fair.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, J.R. gets credited with all of a sudden having a transformation when he came to the Cavs. But his regular season statistics with the Cavs compared to his regular season statistics with the Knicks are identical. In fact, JR actually averaged more points and shot at a higher percentage with the Knicks than he did with the Cavs. Now, it wasn't by a great margin. It was, within 1% or something. But the idea that all of a sudden J.R. Smith came to the Cleveland and started playing dramatically better, I think is a flaw. I think he definitely started giving more effort defensively because the game mattered a little bit more to him. But basically, when you're playing alongside LeBron James, all of a sudden everything looks better. Also, you're almost always going to be on a winning team. So when you look at Shumpert and JR, I think it's not that they're playing that much better. I just think that their teammates are better, and the perception is totally different. Excuse me, the perception is totally different when you're playing alongside LeBron. And that's why I wonder why anybody would ever walk away from playing with LeBron. This guy gets people paid. He makes you look good. He takes all of the blame, and he's always wanting to give out the credit. I think he's almost the ideal teammate, and I think JR and Iman would agree with that.
Brian Windhorst of ESPN, and Barkley said earlier this week on Mike and Mike that they bring that kind of like nut factor, like that unstable factor to the team. What do they bring that aspect as well, a little unhinged, if you will?
I don't know. I know this. Before those guys got there, they were playing Joe Harris and Matthew Dellavedova like humongous minutes, and then they got some veteran players who can shoot and defend with them. And they looked a lot better. I don't know what kind of factor it is. I just know that it was a talent upgrade. And just as being on the Cavs has been great for those two guys, I mean, they're free agents. They're going to get paid more money now than if they stayed on the Knicks. They've brought a lot to the Cavs. They've helped them a lot. I think it's been a terrific trade. But it's not because Shumpert and JR are different players or because they have edgy or because they get technicals or because they have nice hair.
You mentioned that why would you ever walk away from LeBron James after Kevin Love said that he expects to be in a Cavs uniform next year? Your odds that he will be back in Cleveland?
I don't know, and I don't really care about those comments because a year ago, if you had asked LeBron if he intended to be back with the Heat the 2 days before the finals started, then he would say, of course I expect to be back. Of course I plan to be back. I mean, I can plan and expect a lot of things, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I think with Kevin, he has worked the media perfectly in this. He has not said anything that would cause any stir. He has protected his teammates, but I don't think his commitment level is proven at all. And I think the Cavs are concerned about it, and I think that other teams feel like they can get him. The one advantage that the Cavs have that nobody else does, other than they have LeBron, is that they're going to be able to offer him a $100 million contract. And nobody else is going to be able to offer that. And if I was coming off of a serious shoulder injury, and I was coming off dealing with a back issue as he has all year, and I was concerned about my knee as Kevin Love is, I would look very seriously at the $100 million I was about to be offered.
All right, this might be the craziest question you hear today, but that's what I do. If they go ahead and win the title this year, is there any chance that LeBron looks at this as mission accomplished and starts thinking about moving on?
You know, I hear people say that, and can you give me an example of one player in any sport who, by his own admission, not the team cut him or traded him, but he did not want to come back and defend his title? Now, there have been guys like John Elway and Michael Jordan who retired. Said, okay, I'm done. But can you, I mean, maybe there is an example. Maybe there's a great example that I haven't thought about, and maybe you're about to give it to me, and I will give you congratulations. But is there any example, and I don't care, not just about LeBron, but in any sport, this line of thinking, I just don't agree with it. The idea that you would win a championship and would not want to defend it is an outlier to me. If LeBron and the Heat had won the title last year, LeBron would have re-signed with the Heat because he would have wanted to win 4 in a row. So I just that entire premise, I disagree with the entire premise. Sorry.
No, that's all right. And how much of Cleveland being his hometown and him wanting to end his career there, how realistic is that in your mind?
Well, I mean, he's only signed a 1-year contract.
Right.
And I suspect that he'll only sign another 1-year contract. So as far as I'm concerned, you're only as committed as your contract is. Just like Kevin Love, he's a free agent in a month. He's not that committed, okay? So is LeBron committed? He's committed until June 30th. But I do believe that his intention is to stay with the Cavs the rest of his career. But in 2010, his intention was to stay with the Heat for not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. So how I can't possibly predict what he's going to be thinking in June or July 2016, just as I can't predict what Kevin Love is going to be thinking in July 2015.
Amen. ESPN's Brian Windhorst. Brian, Johnny Manziel in the news this week for throwing a water bottle at a fan. How did LeBron James stay out of the limelight? I mean, he's had haters. He's been under the public eye since he was a young teenager. How did he not get these headlines like this, like Johnny Manziel gets?
Well, I do think it helped that when LeBron was going through his maturing, we didn't have Twitter and Facebook, or at least it was very much in its infancy. And there also wasn't cameras on cell phones. I know it sounds like LeBron's old, right? But when you think about it, in 2003, there was no iPhone. I'm pretty sure there was no iPhone. There was definitely no Twitter, and Facebook wasn't what it is today. So LeBron very well may have made mistakes and learned from them, but 30 million people didn't do it with him. But also LeBron has always been number one, above all, dedicated to the game. And that's why he's always been in fabulous shape. That's why his game has improved year in and year out, because he is always dedicated to getting better and winning at the game. That's his number one priority. And I don't think you can say that about some other athletes.
Brian, how do you see the finals playing out?
So I think that the Cavs will have their opportunities, just like the Rockets. The Rockets arguably could have won both games 1 and 2, but they certainly had to get one of those 2 games, those 50-50 games. So I'm expecting either Game 1 or Game 2 to come down to a 50-50 game where it could go either way. And if the Cavs can get that game and go home 1-1, it'll be a real series. If the Cavs cannot, and they don't get that opportunity, they don't take advantage of it, I think the Warriors will be able to control it.
Brian Windhorst of ESPN, at Windhorst ESPN on Twitter. Brian, thanks so much for your time today, man. That was awesome.
Okay, take care.